Okay, at this point, we're going to have to start calling Monolith Soft Monolith Drop because they're dropping all sorts of great information for us Xenoblade fans and RPG fans to get excited about. We've got some new gameplay to discuss when it comes to the details and mechanics of this because Monolith Soft on their official Twitter page had a bit more to say, and we've got an official translation there. But before we get into that and so much more, what's good everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another RPG news video. Today we've got some great topics for you guys. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos first. Now, on the unofficial Xenoblade Chronicles, Xenoblade EN Twitter page, they actually took the translation, or took the clip more like it, and the tweet from Monolith Soft and had it officially translated for all of our viewing and reading pleasure. So here's what they had to say, and you guys are seeing this clip at this point. Attackers are strong at dealing damage to enemies and can aim to do large damage by attacking the back/sides of enemies. While attackers are key to the team's offense, they have a clear weakness in that they are often targeted by enemies. It is important to ensure that you are able to attack from an advantageous position while evading enemy attacks. So this tells us a couple different things. Monolith Soft could have switched up the mechanics a little bit more, as in you might do more regular auto attack damage or damage by itself on the sides or the back. If not, they're alluding to what we always know when it comes to Xenoblade games, and that is you have certain skills or arts that you can do from the side to put them or the enemies in a bad position or do even more damage. The classic backslash comes to mind, and they pretty much have that in every single Xenoblade game. So that's definitely a good thing returning. But what I've been doing is watching this clip over and over and kind of looking at the strafing, the movement, the attacks, and there's a couple things that I see very clear, and we'll start at the most basic level. The game is sped up. It's faster than what we saw with Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and even Torna to a degree. So your movement speed, strafing around the enemies, your speed of your attacks and kind of how you do things is a bit faster than what we saw before in the previous Xenoblade game. So that's definitely a good thing. Now, another thing that I've noticed is that you probably can't attack and also move at the same time, but I do think that's for good reason because of what we saw in the actual trailers of the game, where the canceling seemed to be very prevalent when it comes to skill canceling and everything, and you're not going to have animations that will have to play out before you can cancel them. So I do think that that is a good thing at this point, considering the movement speed and considering the skills that we've already seen in the trailers. Now, we still have to wait and see for the full game to come out and for them to actually have battles and explain more and everything, but so far it's looking really good. And I also want to comment on a couple other things. I talked about this in my previous video, my video that I did yesterday about Xenoblade Chronicles and the graphics. I have an analysis, so if you missed that, make sure you check out that video. It's on the channel right now, where I talked about the lighting and everything. But I think that it's very interesting that if you look at a lot of the RPGs that are coming out or that have been out that have these open-ended areas or big worlds, like on PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, whatever the case is, they all kind of load into battle screens. A lot of them load into, a lot of them don't have the actual enemies that you're fighting on the screen, and then it loads into it. Monolith Soft has been able to create a huge, seamless, it seems like, world here with Xenoblade Chronicles 3, with up to 7 people fighting on screen with what seems like very crisp looking visuals and also good frame rate on the Nintendo Switch, with no load up screens heading into the battle, and actually seeing the enemies and having a living, breathing world right there, because they did it before with Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii, and that was the Wii, considering how weak that system is, all the way up to right now with the Nintendo Switch. But of course with Xenoblade Chronicles X having a real open world game with all of that wildlife and seamless battles right into it. I think that this is probably the most impressive when it comes to combat and everything that I've seen so far for an action RPG with that many characters in your party on screen at the same time with this type of world. This might be the most impressive current generation RPG. And I promise you guys, I'm not trying to go cap here or go super fanboy when it comes to Xenoblade and everything like that. I just think that I've seen quite a bit at this point. And once again, we're getting gameplay clips, and it's not like there's slowdown or issues or anything like that. And the graphics, and it seems like the resolution and everything, and this is just a Twitter video that I'm doing, but from what we've seen from the trailer and what we've seen so far from the video clips, it seems like everything is holding up considerably better than what Xenoblade Chronicles 2 had, where people had concerns from some of the gameplay clips, people had concerns from the beginning when they first saw the trailer, and I think that the game is in a much more finalized state while we're seeing it now than Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was when we first saw Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and when we first saw Xenoblade Chronicles X, there was a lot of changes, whereas Monolith Soft, they waited before they showed us, and now we're getting more towards the final build of the game, if not very close to that, since they did move the release date up. So there's a lot to be excited about here. There's a lot to really praise here, and I think that Monolith Soft has done a phenomenal job with this, because those are the things that I'm observing with this game compared to other games that I've been playing recently, like say for example the Tales of Arise, where you have to actually load into the battles. There's also the new Soul Hackers game, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. Looks great, but also you can't see the enemies in terms of what they are, and then you also have to load into battles as well, and they're on much more powerful hardware, right? So I think that goes to show you what Monolith Soft can do with the Nintendo Switch with that limited amount of power compared to other systems, and what they've been able to accomplish with Xenoblade Chronicles 3. It really is very technically impressive. But what are your thoughts on this gameplay clip and what I talked about here, some of the analysis with this game? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, and moving on to the next topic here, guys. We've got some information on pretty much a huge milestone from one of Nintendo's biggest franchises ever, and that's the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. So according to Game Data Library, one of the best, if not the best source for Japanese game sales and game sales in general, as they keep things categorically and they're very accurate with their data because they pull it straight from the source. So really like this place. Make sure you follow them on Twitter. And they had this to say about a recent milestone. Total retail sales of the original Switch version of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild in Japan has surpassed 2 million units, being the first game in the series to hit that milestone, including re-releases, digital, and the Wii U version. It's over 3 million units. So in the storied history of The Legend of Zelda, with multiple different portable systems and home consoles and all sorts of stuff, it's the Switch version, before the Switch is even done with its life, where Breath of the Wild has surpassed all the other ones, and it's like not even close. It's going to smoke the other games when it comes down to it. I mean, the original Legend of Zelda, Zelda 2 Adventure of Link, all these different games, Ocarina of Time, it's passed all of them up. So that is incredible to see. But I also think it means one thing. I see so many people say Zelda should be this, Zelda should be that, dungeon this, dungeon that. I don't think Nintendo's ever going to go back when it comes to the big new Zelda games. They're never going to go back to that traditional dungeon only type of thought process, and the overworld or Hyrule is just kind of bad. They're never going to go back to that. I think what they're going to do is make sure that they still have these open-ended exploration aspects in some way, shape, or form with all of the main home console big Zelda games. Now, maybe something smaller, or maybe if they're trying to do like the overhead or 2D Zeldas, yes, those will have it, but you cannot dismiss these sales, because Legend of Zelda has never been as popular as some like other games, or at least not at this point, like Monster Hunter or certain type of franchises in Japan. But Breath of the Wild was a breakthrough for them, because other than that, they really haven't been doing incredibly great in Japan. I mean, it was the original Legend of Zelda that was number 2. Think about that for a second. The original Legend of Zelda, not Skyward Sword, not all the newer ones, not Twilight Princess, not all this stuff like that, but the original Legend of Zelda, then followed by Zelda 2. And then finally, at number 4, in Japan, it was The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and then A Link to the Past. So most of those systems are all of Nintendo's super legacy. Outside of Breath of the Wild, they haven't really had anything that's been huge, like massive in Japan. It wasn't until the Nintendo DS, it looks like the DS, sold about 900,000 plus in Japan. And that took on an install base of well over 150 million, Nintendo's best selling system of all time. So I think they're going to stick with this path and then also add in dungeons as well. But it's going to be interesting to see exactly how they do it. I think that Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 is getting so big to the point to where it's going to blow our minds at this point. It has to, considering all the time that they're taking and what they're doing with this game. It is not going to be a cookie cutter sequel for them when it comes down to it. It really isn't. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see exactly how it turns out. But shout outs to Breath of the Wild. It's one of my favorite games of all time, if not my favorite game of all time. I absolutely love the exploration and what they did with the game. So I'm very happy to see that it's the first Zelda game ever to break 2 million physical units in Japan. And once again, we're not even counting digital here, so it's probably over 3 million. So Breath of the Wild has done incredibly well, and I cannot wait to see what they have for us with Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 coming out spring in 2023. But what are your thoughts on this, guys? When it comes to the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild big sales milestone, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, and moving on to the next topic here, guys, we've got some brand new gameplay footage of Soul Hackers 2. Now, this is called the Summoner's Guide. They've already done a couple volumes now. This is the second one. They go over a bunch of information. The Covenants, the Great One, Milady, and Exploration. You know, you can go out on these dungeon raids, these recon trips, and you can fight a lot of different demons. It's a very different style of game. Usually it has like those demons from SMT that you know and love, Persona, all that, but it's a different style. And there's a couple reservations that I do have. Don't get me wrong, this looks incredible. I'm going to be picking it up day one on the PlayStation 5. I'm probably going to work with Sega or something like that. We're probably going to have some sponsored videos or something. I'm not sure. I can't say for sure, but I would love to do one, Sega, if you're watching. I would love to do one, or Atlas, whatever, both same company. But either way, so yes, I would love to do that, but let's talk about this. So Atlas has released the second volume in its series of Summoner's Guide, information for Soul Hackers 2. Now, the official Japanese website was also updated with a system dungeon exploration page and a chapter page for RS, which features all the new information revealed in today's Summoner's Guide video. Now, Soul Hackers 2 is due out for the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, and PC via Steam on August 25th in Japan and August 26th worldwide. More information on the game, link in the description below, and I also have my own videos. If you just type in Soul Hackers 2, you can check that out. There's more information, and you guys are seeing some of the new footage here. It's 9 minutes long, so we can't go over everything, and the introduction, there's like a whole transcript of everything because it is translated from Japanese to English with closed captions, so you guys can check that out. I just wanted to talk about it because it looks great. The game does look very smooth. I mean, there are some things, and I just want to go over that. Like I said, it looks great, don't get me wrong. There are some things that definitely seem like it's a little bit like of a backstep from SMT5, but obviously SMT5 had a different development period. It's whatever, it's a different game, right? But like, you can't see the enemy that you're about to go into battle with before you go into the battle. That's something that they added into SMT5 that I really liked. The previous SMT games, they just show like digital looking like weird shadow blobs or blocks and stuff, and they're kind of back to doing that. That reminded me of like SMT4, you know, so they're kind of back to doing that. And like Persona 5 had that, where you rip off the mask, you don't know what you're fighting before you get into it. So of course, if you want to, you know, do something when it comes to the monster and all that, I mean, like, you can't do that, or at least you don't know what it is and you have to just go into the battle. So like, I understand maybe why they did that, but I think that it would be cool going forward if they actually have it to where it's just, you know, like, you could actually see the enemy that you're fighting beforehand and everything. But outside of that, it looks really good. Outside of that, the gameplay looks smooth. Obviously, you have a bunch of cool looking characters. The enemy design's great, of course, and this dungeon gameplay looks really good too. So I bet it's gonna be a very solid game. Like I said, I'm picking it up day one. It's coming out this summer, August, so it's gonna have a nice, I think, clear schedule. I don't think there's many games set for August, so it should do well enough at least. But if you guys want to know more information on the game, you can check out the link in the description, and of course I'll be covering it with more information going forward. So what is your thought on this brand new gameplay footage of Soul Hackers 2? It looks like it's the PS5 footage here, so awesome stuff. So what's your thoughts on it? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, and moving on to the final topic here, guys. This is a RPG that I'm not necessarily super excited on playing, but I know that there's so many people out there that love this franchise, and that is One Piece Odyssey. This looks really good based off of some of the new screenshots, so I wanted to give it a little bit of love. So Bandai Namco has released brand new screenshots for One Piece Odyssey, the recently announced turn-based RPG developed by ILCA, and you guys should know them, or at least some of you guys should know them, because they're the same people who did the remakes of Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl on the Nintendo Switch. So here's the story real quick, and you guys are seeing some of these new screenshots. In the midst of their latest ocean voyage, the Straw Hat Pirates have seen their ship swallowed by a mighty storm. Shipwrecked, the crew members wash ashore on a mysterious island blessed with natural gifts and protected by a ring of storms all around. Separated from their friends and with the thousand sunny sinking into the depths, Luffy and the others must embark on a new adventure to escape from this storm-buffeted island. But lying in the way are ruthless forces of nature, terrible enemies, and ... exclamation mark. So it looks like that's a secret here. But yeah, this looks really good. It very much embodies the soul of the anime and everything. So I'm excited on seeing more of it. It's a turn-based RPG, so they're not going with action RPG. I've played some of the other One Piece games, like a One Piece Unlimited World Red. It's kind of like an action RPG hybrid type of game, you know, adventure and everything. And I mean, it was okay, but I didn't really quite understand everything because I'm not a One Piece fan. But this is a turn-based RPG, and something that I've noticed, especially with these licensed, you know, type of games, they go action and it's like, okay, yeah, it's fine, whatever. But when they go with turn-based, it usually ends up being a little bit better sometimes. I mean, heck, the best Dragon Ball Z game that I've played when it comes to it is a turn-based Dragon Ball Z game, okay? And it's called Attack of the Saiyans, and it's made by Monolith Soft, and it's a turn-based Dragon Ball Z game, and it's better than all of the other Dragon Ball Z games that I've played when it comes to spin-off stuff that's not like a fighting game, right? It's better than all of that. So I think that this could be the Attack of the Saiyans, but for the One Piece franchise, and it's developed by a company that knows how to make turn-based RPGs as well and have just worked on one. So I think that this could be pretty good, and they got the series creators and everybody on board for it. So One Piece fans, look out for this when it does drop, and I'll definitely be looking out for it myself because it does look pretty good. Now the game, it's out for PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, and PC via Steam in 2022. So we don't have an exact month or anything, but they say it's coming out this year. But what do you guys think about everything that we discussed here, from Soul Hackers, One Piece, also The Legend of Zelda, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and we will see you for the next video. Peace.